I remember as a young man, I used to be quite obese. I was quite a fat ass, eating chocolates all day, eating junk food every single day, eating a whole bunch of just bad foods and carbs and shoving all that stuff in my face. And I remember after a time that I'd ate so much junk food, I felt really bad and I wanted to kind of just like give my body its own rights, right? And so I told my mother, could you make me a salad? And I basically then ate the salad, thinking that that was healthy for me. And as I ate that thing, I kind of literally felt like a cow. I mean, sure, you can tell me it's better than the chocolates that I was eating, but I certainly think that there are better alternatives. And so, growing up, I had the same pattern where I'd always just keep doing the bad things, keep doing the bad things, and then I'd realize, oh wait, what the fuck am I doing? And so, growing up, I'd start playing video games. I'd get a lot of like, I'd get addicted to them, hooked onto that stuff. Then, in a while, it'd kind of just be like, okay, like, what the fuck am I doing? And then I'd kind of just try and limit my inputs. But it was always this kind of addictive personality where whatever I do, I just always am getting addicted, always just doing it like way too much. And so I'd end up going into a whole bunch of different addictions, from pornography addiction, fapping addiction, to junk food addiction, which I gained at such a young age, sugar addiction. I fell into smoking and I started smoking from here and there. I I had a major video game addiction. I would start to watch anime and I'd really enjoy that stuff. And here I am, I'm addicted to anime and Netflix. I'd start watching Breaking Bad and fucking just Berserk and Bleach and whatever, and I just start watching these animes all over the place. And eventually, I'm basically like my whole life is just addictions and addictions and addictions. Taking time and stealing everything from me, ripping me of the life that I want to be living. And so when I realized that I was in this position because of myself and I'm basically living a life that I hate. I'm scrolling all day long on my Instagram, social media addiction. I'm eating shit foods. I'm just not living the ideal life. And I think you're in a similar position to this. But that was when I actually started implementing all these things that I will mention in this video that have genuinely changed my life. And so in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you all these protocols that have helped me so much to eliminate all these addictions. And I would genuinely argue that these are the main cause of why today I'm free of all this stuff. I get to do whatever I want with my time. I'm the type of guy that wakes up at 3:30 a.m. and starts recording a video. I'm free of all addictions. I don't have to jump to my video games and just start playing video games. I don't have to turn on the TV to watch some anime. I don't have to go to the kitchen and start eating as soon as I wake up. In fact, right now I'm fasted. And I'm okay being fasted because I don't need that. And that's why I think I'm free of all these addictions. And more than anything, it's about the ultra freedom that you get because you're not doing these things, because you don't have to be doing these things on force. I'm confident that this video will help you because I've given the same advice to people in real life and they have genuinely changed their lives because of it. They started implementing it and they kind of fell off from here and there, but as soon as they stuck through the process, they always came back to me with a smile telling me, thank you so much for telling me this. And so that's why I think this video will help you so much. But of course, such a video won't ever help you if you're not focusing on it. You see, with all the social fucking we've went through, with all the fucking Matrix shit, I mean, it's no wonder really what we're kind of going through. We can't even focus on the video. You see, throughout this video, I haven't really been talking for long, and yet here you are and you're scrolling through the video, you're going all around, scrolling through the comments, looking at the suggested videos, looking at the description, and you see, I just don't think that will benefit you. If you want this video to truly benefit you, you should focus on it. You should sit there, make it full screen, like just set the phone somewhere and just focus on the video, because the video won't help you if you're not focusing on it. Like pick out a notebook or a sheet of paper and just start writing notes. You could also do that digitally. Like just make it a new note on your fucking phone and just start writing down some notes. So, such stuff would really help you out so much, and you'll be grateful that you took the notes on this video. And so, just don't get distracted. Try to make this like your ultra like focused challenge, and just focus on this video. So you see, before we get started, we need to actually explain what addiction is. So addiction is basically just an uncontrollable behavior that leads to shame and disgust, which generally leads to sadness, and for quite a long period. So knowing this, we can actually kind of understand some kind of ways that we can help this. It's either we increase our control, which then would actually lower our chance of going into it, or we would actually decrease the happiness that we get today by suffering and going through pain today, and that's what would push us to actually escape this. That's why when we say an uncontrollable behavior, well, if we increase the control, wouldn't we then fix the problem? We probably would. That leads to shame and sadness for a long period of time. Okay, then if we just decrease our happiness before we do it, wouldn't that in turn actually help us go through it? And so, in a weird way, going through pain right now will prevent you from going through that pain once more and going on and on and on and on with this addiction. And so these are two kind of key fundamentals we need to understand, that we need to increase our control. And of course, I'll talk about a whole bunch of protocols we'll do to increase our control. And then of course, we need to actually just be willing to put ourselves through pain and suffering. I mean, it's honestly insane these days, you know? Like, all these fucking junk food companies, like, bro, you better start looking at how they fucking form these fucking burgers, because these buns, they ain't fucking normal bread. The amount of shit they put in there to make your brain wired onto this stuff is insane. Like, it's literally reached a point where fruit isn't even fruit anymore. Like, your fruits are basically pumped with a whole bunch of different chemicals and molecules to make them produce more sugar, to make them more sugary, so that you'll get hooked onto them. Your fruits are pumped with weird ass fucking molecules that make them not even have seeds, just so that you can like eat them comfortably. Like, what kind of molecule would you be consuming when you're eating that thing and it literally doesn't even have seeds? It's like, bro, seeds are their way of just like going through life and making children, you know, like giving birth. Their way of giving birth is their seed. Imagine if we made you infertile and we told someone to eat you infertile. Would that be like healthy for anyone? No, it'd probably be much healthier to eat a fertile like fruit or like a piece of meat. And so isn't that so strange that we're eating infertile fruits? And I mean, let's not get into the fucking sugar part, because honestly, I'm disgusted by this shit. Like, all this sugar crap, just literally sneaking in sugar everywhere. Like, you'd be eating fruits and, oh, like, this has sugar. Oh, peanut butter. Oh, yeah, just 2 grams per 2 tablespoons. Oh, yeah, let's, like, just... Especially just people sneaking in sugar, because sugar's addictive. As soon as you eat that, you'll link it to the thing you ate. Oh, wow. Now you're basically just eating that thing forever. I mean, really, when you think about it, bro, like, we live in such an artificial world where you're basically surrounded by all these people who are just watching these series and these movies, and that's their fun, you know, in a sense, even though it's basically depriving them of fun. But to them, they're feeling the fun today, and so that's pretty awesome. We're just having fun today. Which, what they don't know is they're basically delaying pain instead of taking it today. And so you would think that that's a smart strategy to go about it. Like if you could just take the pain today, or you would take the pain tomorrow, you'd probably say, okay, I'll just take it tomorrow because like today I should be having fun. And yeah, I mean it's kind of a good strategy. The issue is what's uncalculated in such a strategy is the fact that the pain will be tomorrow. It can't be delayed from tomorrow. And so even though you will take the happiness today, tomorrow, in a sense, you'll kind of just take that pain, and you'll have to take the pain. And so, in a weird way, when people have to take the pain, they don't just take the pain, no. They take the pain and then they try to silence it by having another fun session. The issue is when you keep doing that over and over, you'll reach a point where the pain is too much that your activity doesn't even cover it. And what that leads to is the chronic depression and anxiety and emptiness people feel today. People will tell you, oh, I'm so depressed, I'm so anxious, and these things. Yeah, it's true. You'll think, oh yeah, like depression can't be all these people. No, it is. It's all these people that are saying it. The reason depression has gone so big, same goes for anxiety and all these things, because all of the habits that people are performing are bad. There is no good habits these people are performing. They're going about their day. The first thing they do is start scrolling on their phone. They watch porn. They fap. They go and play video games. They watch some series. And then they end up staying up late and they can't even sleep on time, and so they have to wake up early. And it's just, all their habits are fucked up. They don't have no sense of purpose. They have no sense of being. And that's what's limiting them from actually going about their lives. And so the reason for depression and anxiety is not what everyone will tell you, is that you're not taking this pill and that's why, or that it's just like a genetically thing that you just get by genes and whatever. No, it's not. Depression is caused by your bad habits. And I think all of this stuff, all these addictions, all this depression, these feelings, they're a symptom of a bigger problem. And that bigger problem we'll discuss in this video. But I'll leave it to that section for now. Let's get into mindsets. You see, in my opinion, and I say this in every single full guide, mindsets are the key. If you've got the right mindset, you can basically go through life knowing that you'll be successful. And it's just I think people underestimate mindsets, because mindsets are this small thing, and it's oh yeah, I shouldn't be looking at this small thing, mindset. It's they're almost too egotistical for having a mindset. When in reality, the mindset is what builds everything. I mean, I like this analogy Alex Mosi gives, and he's if I told you to build the tallest tower in 10 seconds, you would put he shows some bricks, and he's you would put all of the bricks on top of each other like this, and then he says, but you see, this thing is quite fragile. And then he kicks it with his leg and it falls over, and he says it's because it doesn't have the foundation. And so he says after that, what if I told you to build me the tallest tower in 1 week? You would have way too much time. And so now you're actually focusing on the foundation. Because you see, if you've built those things on top of each other, eventually you're going to reach a limit. You're not going to be able to put one more, because the whole thing will fall, because it doesn't have the foundation. And so you start building the foundation. Now you have a whole week, and you've built a whole foundation. And that's why you're actually being able to build up. And you see, what this ends up really doing to us is, when we don't rush it, when we're not okay, I just have 10 seconds and I really need to build the fastest tower, can build a very sustainable, long game tower. And what that ends up really doing to us is giving us this ultra foundation that will last. And we won't have to go over and over and over again trying to repeat this process of building a good foundation. And so the first key mindset we have is the finite and infinite game. You see, Alex Hormozi talks about this. He says, the people apply finite rules to an infinite game. So let me just explain the two really quick. The finite game is simply a game like a football game, a soccer game. Some players are known, others are not. You've got a time limit, and the point of the game is to just get the goal to win. But those rules don't apply to infinite games. You see, an infinite game, some players are known, others are not. And you've got basically, you don't got a specific time, and the point of the game is to keep playing. You only win by staying in the game. And so, how do we apply this to addictions? You see, if you've got the finite mindset that I'll stop it for just 30 days. I'll stop eating sugar for just 30 days. Just 30 days, and then I'll go back to sugar. Well, in a weird way, you're limiting your progress, because you need to have the long game focus of, okay, I'll be doing this for the rest of my life. And, I said this in the aesthetic body, roadmap video, and I said, if you're not willing to actually get the aesthetic body and keep it, then you shouldn't be getting it to begin with, because you'll end up losing it. You'll feel bad, you'll feel even worse than you feel right now because you don't have it. And so it's like, imagine I did this, and now you look down and you've got a six-pack, you've got a toned six-pack. Well, issue is, you won't know how to maintain it, because I just gave it to you out of nowhere. Because you're doing the bad habits, and as soon as you eat one more, lunch of sugar, you're back to having no six-packs. And so what we need to understand here is, you need to be building the right habits and eliminating these bad ones, these addictions you have. Also, you've got to have the willingness to sacrifice. You've got to have the willingness to sacrifice today for tomorrow. You have to be willing to sacrifice all the pain and misery you'll have to feel today. Because, escaping addictions isn't easy. You're going to feel a lot of pain. You're going to feel like you're tearing yourself from the inside out. You're going to feel like you're turning into a different person. It's going to feel really just terrible. And that's the difference between the person who's going to stick to the old addictions and just say, oh yeah, it's natural, versus the other person who's going to actually put in the work and actually escape all those addictions. And so you've got to have the willingness to say, yeah, I'm willing to endure some fucking pain for this. And I'm sick of this living. I don't want to be going through this anymore. And that's where you say, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be going through pain and all the suffering. I'm going to be doing all the protocols in this video. And I want to see just how far I can push this. Also, you've got to realize that your brain is dead. Unfortunately, your brain is, I wouldn't say it's dead. It's more so it's very sick. It's sick to the core. And the reason it's sick is because of all the conditioning that you've placed it under, that society has placed you under, that the world just seems to revolve around. And so it's basically just the fact that our world is fucked up. Our world is fucked up. Nobody wants to improve. And unfortunately, everyone around you, they'll find you to be this weird entity if you just simply want to be doing the good habits. And it's quite unfortunate. I will tell you this story. When I was really upset about my vaping addiction, and I was just sick to the core of it. And I went to my parents and I told them, okay, I'm sick of this. I want this to be over. And they looked at me weird. They were like, why? This is natural. You're not supposed to be sad about it. I was like, wait, what? How am I not supposed to be sad about it? I'm literally just spilling my seed. And then they're like, it's fine. Like, you shouldn't be worried. It's like, yeah, it's just a vaping addiction. Yeah, we all have it. And I'm like, wait, what? Everyone has this? And it's just strange because it's not like, do you think our ancestors spent like 1 hour watching porn and fapping? It's like, of course not. So it's very strange to just be seeing this shit. And it's more common than you think. Like, I mean, I see this in our class. I just look behind me, and I'd see like this like group of three guys, and they're always just sat there, and they're like showing each other pictures. And one time I came and I just sat around with them, and they dead ass just showed me some fucking porn. Like, I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like, what's wrong with these people? It's like, I'm just sat with you casually. You're like, oh, just see this. It's like, what the fuck? It's quite strange. They're the people around you. They're fucked up. They're probably much more fucked up than what you are, but the only difference is mindset. Because to them, they've accepted that they're pieces of shit. To you, you can accept that because you don't want to be a piece of shit. And that's what makes you a potential successful person as opposed to them, which they're guaranteed for failure till they change. And so, of course, your brain will tell you to hang around those guys again. Your brain will tell you, okay, I need to just one more time. Let me fap, please, just one more time. Oh yeah, just let me touch the controller of the video game. Just let me just hold it like this, and then I'll place it down and I'll leave. And as soon as you sit down there and you say, okay, that's it, you'll do it. And then you'll fucking turn on the TV and start playing video games. And so the whole fucking shit of just trying to minimize it, your brain will do everything to just get back to those habits. And it is your job to silence your brain, to not listen to your brain, and simply do anything besides those addictions. And of course, that doesn't mean doing addictions you don't already do. It simply means you actually doing some good habits and investing your time in some good dopamine that will give you a better overall long run game advantage. So I've talked about this in my dopamine detox full guide. This concept of basic attack, that you cannot remove a habit or an addiction without replacing it. You see, this is a key fundamental to me now. I've said this over and over on the channel, but to many this seems quite weird. But the simple truth is, no matter what it is you're doing, it could be as simple as just fidgeting around with your fingers. If you don't replace it, you simply just go back and revert to it. It's like basically, it's like a rubber band. You keep pulling it, but if you don't hold it from the other side and you keep moving it around, you're basically just gonna do this till eventually it cracks off and it goes right back. And so really, we need to understand that you need to be replacing all these addictions. You've got to be having some replacement. So for sugar, just, eat normal food, eat some tasty meats. Like, that's honestly like the greatest tip I would give you. Eat some tasty meat. And basically make that the ultimate replacement for both junk food and sugar. For social media, make the ultimate like just alternative or the substitute. Just simply podcasts. You watch long form podcasts. For fapping and porn addictions, you simply have some kind of direction or goal that you work toward, and generally that pushes the fapping and porn off. For smoking, it's just simply not having that thing to begin with. So of course, different addictions have different solutions. And of course, I'll talk about the ways that we can solve different addictions. And of course, you'll just have to try them out for yourself and see which ones work best for you. Because of course, these are just different boxes that addictions can go into. And so I may have fapping addiction as a substitute, like a substitute addiction. You might have it as a environmental addiction. And so you're just gonna have to see. Of course, we'll get into this in just a bit. And the final mindset I need to just have is, he isn't you. Your lizard brain that's telling you, oh yeah, let's just play video game, let's just do that. He isn't you. He is simply the lizard brain. And so you need to differentiate between you two, because your like reasoning voice, the voice that like you can hear in your head clearly as you, well, that's you, that's not the lizard brain. And then the lizard brain, it isn't you, it's just the lizard brain. And so it's kind of like an impulse. But whenever you listen and hear that voice, what I found is a very good protocol to do is whenever you feel like skipping the gym or like just doing that habit again, just say like what like the impulse told you. So I'm sat here, my impulse told me, oh, just go play video games. Okay, well, what I would do is I would be like, oh, just go play video games. Almost saying it in like a weird ass fucking voice. So I'll basically just hear like how stupid it sounded and just laughing it off and doing something else. It's almost like this weird psychological method that I found where like when you just replace that voice, like you make your voice, and then the voice of that weird ass shithole, the lizard brain, like a voice of a lizard brain. It clarifies a lot of different things, and also removes a lot of the self-hate that you'll be inflicting upon yourself whenever you relapse. So now we're going to be moving on to the ways, and I've made a framework to kind of just summarize this like step, which is just the ways you would be quitting. And I called the framework SEED: substitution, elimination, environmental, and deload. So let's just get right into it. Substitution is simply you substituting the habit that you're doing with something else. So you're playing 1 hour of video games. You substitute the 1 hour of video games with 1 hour of watching an educational podcast. And so now you've gotten a substitute to the habit. And so you've gotten rid of the habit by simply just putting something else in its place. Now for elimination, it's simply just you completely and utterly eliminating it. So not doing it again. Just simply sticking to it. No, nothing. Like just to the point of like hands behind back, just full on, just no shit. And it's just full on elimination. Now this could be implemented to all addictions. It could probably give you some good results. Issue is it's very difficult. And so of course, I would recommend that you always start with elimination. Always. Never like start with anything else. Always try to eliminate the habit. And if it doesn't work, that's when you change the method. Now for environmental, it's simply just you changing your environment, because your environment is the core reason of why you're doing the habit. So an example of this would be like doing drugs and doing all this type of stuff. You wouldn't be able to get your hands on drugs if you traveled to another nation, would you? And so it's kind of, in a sense, a more so environmental, that you're sat in this environment and so you have access to it and that's why you do it. But when you're out there, when you're not in that environment, you won't be able to have that in your hands. And so it's much more of a relief, because now you can actually focus on things you're interested in, and you'll eliminate that addiction by simply leaving the environment. And then finally, deload, which is probably the worst case scenario that you have to go to, is simply that you have to just like progressively deload, just almost like removing weights off and just doing drop sets. It's literally like the exact same thing, just removing a whole bunch of it and keeping some of it in there. So an example of this would be something like less FAP, which is simply you scheduling FAP days and simply just allowing yourself to FAP on those days, and then having like a weird campaign thing where you try and hold yourself as much as possible after you nut all these like days in a row. Now for the bigger problem. You see, in the beginning of the video I talked about how they're like all these things that you're experiencing, all the pain and suffering and addictions, they're simply like a symptom of a bigger problem. What's that bigger problem? It's mental health. You see, your mental health is shit. With all this scrolling on social media, watching movies and Netflix and all this stuff, eating all these junk food, like smoking and doing all this stuff, it's no wonder that your mental health has gotten affected by this. And so, really, we need to understand this. Mental health is the core reason to all your problems. Fixing mental health will simply fix all your addictions. It will remove all your addictions. Or at least it will minimize them to a point where you simply can eliminate them much easier than what you have right now. So you're like right now, you are facing a level 10 beast, but you're level -1. And so how about we level you up to level 5 and give you a golden sword, and now you can fight that dragon? Well, that's the exact same thing as you leveling up your mental health so you can actually face the dragon, which is your addiction, with much more power and much more ability to take that thing down. So how do we fix mental health? I mean, mental health, it's a very long thing. I made a full guide on this. It'll probably show up somewhere here. And it's basically just a full guide on mental health. And mental health is this really like long form thing. I definitely suggest you watch that full guide. It will genuinely help you a lot in actually going through that. And of course, watch the full guide after you're done with this video. Unless you're watching like section by section, then probably be best to just watch that full guide as soon as possible. But from the protocols that I suggest in that video is dopamine detox. Now, you see, dopamine detoxing, it's basically just for social media addiction, for Netflix addiction, for most of those addictions are just fucked up. And so I'd recommend that you watch my dopamine detox full guide on this. It'll probably also show up somewhere there. And basically, this full guide will give you just autistically detailed, okay, like step by step, what do we do to actually go on dopamine detox? And then I'll simply just go on dopamine detox with the mindset of, okay, I'll do this forever because I want to avoid these addictions as much as possible. But in short, if I'm just going to be giving you how to fix your mental health and how to go on a dopamine detox, I tell you this. Fixing your mental health comes from 4 key habits that you would be doing with all the other things that I will mention in that full guide. Simply, it starts by you first actually doing meditation, so meditating every single day. We'll talk about this in just a bit. It's also you journaling every single day, you reading every single day. And reading, it doesn't really have to be reading, it could just be actually taking in and learning. Is like probably another substitute for reading. And then also exercising, so doing some kind of physical exercise that will help you out. And for a dopamine detox, it's simply just cutting out all the bullshit. You see, I talked about elimination, but the simple truth is elimination for most cases actually works like the bestest. It genuinely, like, if you can eliminate a thing completely without having to just deload it or all that stuff, it's probably going to actually benefit you the most, and it's probably not going to be all this effort that you're just going to have to put into. We talked about mindfulness. Why don't we just get into it? So we'll need to be doing some kind of meditation, and this kind of meditation specifically is called mindfulness meditation. You see, mindfulness just simply means you being in the moment right now. You being in this moment with me right here. So are you in this moment, or are you thinking about the future or the past? Well, if you're distracted, if you're not mindful, then you would be thinking about the future and past. Now you're mindful, you're thinking with me here. And mindfulness is simply you training this like skill, because unfortunately with all the social media and all the fucking we went through, of course, we're not going to be mindful. You're scrolling on shorts. One video is like a puppy that's like falling on its face. And then the second is like a lady that's half naked just showing her ass. And it's like, yeah, like it's like, what do you think? Your brain has to adapt to that stuff. And so it's like, no wonder you're like, your attention span's so fucked, you know? And so how do we fix that? Well, we fix that by doing this meditation. And of course I did a whole morning chat on this, but I'll kind of just tell you what you need to be doing. And so you'll simply be sitting down in a comfortable place. You'll set a timer for 5 to 20 minutes, depending on how you feel really. And simply you will just sit there and close your eyes, and you will focus on your breath. So your inhale that goes all the way through, your chest rising and going down, and your exhale, which is really just a full-on motion. You simply focus on your breath, the inhales and exhales. And you'll realize that you kind of got distracted. You're not as focused on it as you were. And all you really have to do is just bring your focus back to your inhale and exhale. And what this will do to you is it will actually give you like one bicep curl for your mindfulness muscle, which is your brain. But for us, mindfulness isn't just simply doing this meditation every single day. It's also being mindful throughout the day. So it's not multitasking, trying to avoid multitasking as much as possible. And this includes like, listening to music, like as you're doing something else. If you want to listen to music, then you just sit down and listen to music and make this a music listening bout. But specifically, you don't just multitask. You don't like as you're doing your exercise or as you're like doing your chores, you like play some music or a podcast or like an audiobook. Don't do that, because that will basically it'll silence the voice in your head and it'll make you multitask, which will simply like kind of ruin the whole fucking shit that we're trying to do with meditation. It's almost like this, like you're doing something good and here's a bad thing. They're crossing paths, and it ends up neutralizing. So we want to be maximizing the meditation's effect as much as possible by way of actually just being mindful throughout the day. And so whenever you catch yourself thinking about the future or the past, just try and always be present. Try and always just be like, okay, I'm going to focus on right now. What is right now? What do I have to do right now? And just simply working toward it. Now for reasoning. So I've seen this a lot, where people will keep reasoning with their lizard brain. So your lizard brain, you're sat there, you're taking a shit, and your lizard brain tells you, oh, I want a fap. And your immediate reaction is to be like, no, we're not going to be fapping. And you see, you're almost arguing with your lizard brain. You're going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the longer you argue, the more you're draining yourself. And eventually you end up quitting and just actually doing it. Now you see, the solution to this whole thing is simply just focusing on the thing that you're on. You see, don't argue with your lizard brain. Don't argue with that like fucking shithole brain of yours. And whenever you find yourself that you're arguing with them, just do the tip that I told you before. Just like give them this like fucking weird ass lizard noise and just speak in the lizard voice and laugh it off and walk it off, And in a weird way, not reasoning with that voice will actually eliminate that voice. I was reading Indistractable, this book, and he talked about how there's this rule, like the 10-minute rule, and you're basically just, whenever you get the urge, you simply say, okay, I won't do the thing. I'll do it, but not now. I'll do it after 10 minutes. And you simply just, you don't set a timer, you don't set nothing. You simply say, okay, just after 10 minutes, I'll do it. And then you just go about life. You completely forget about it. And eventually realize that like it's been 2 hours and you haven't even fucking like actually went through your emotions. And that's because you disregarded them. You told it, like you said to yourself, okay, like I'll just do it after 10 minutes. And of course, like don't use this as a way to focus on it. I'll talk about overemphasis in just a bit. But don't focus on it completely. Like just say that and completely ignore it. Like I think it's a whole like the main reason people are addicted is because they're simply focusing on that thing. They're simply focusing on the addiction, and that's why they're addicted. It's really just ignore them, like do something else. Like as soon as you feel like, okay, like he's coming back, the lizard brain, okay, then just switch on a podcast, sit there. Okay, then just do an exercise, go for a jog, like, and I prefer actually the physical stuff. So I prefer going to the gym and just beating my ass off. And like your brain might cope and be like, okay, but I need to get the testosterone increase before I go. Just don't fucking listen to your lizard brain, bro. Just don't listen to your lizard brain. Just actually fucking sit there and be like, okay, fucking not good. Like I'll not do this, and I'll just do something else, and I'll ignore this fucking lizard shithole brain in my head. Now, of course, I'm not talking about journaling here. I'm not talking about reasoning with yourself through journaling, because if you can identify the things that actually like the cue, the thing that causes you to actually have the urge from the very beginning, which you do by journaling, then that'll be really helpful to you because then you can eliminate that. So for a long time for me, social media was the biggest like factor to why, addictions would keep relapsing. So I'd see like some like really muscly guy and he's eating some fucking like crispy chicken. I'd be like, oh man, I really want some crispy chicken. And then I'd actually get the crispy chicken and I'd relapse on my junk food addiction. So what I then did was, okay, like I'll just remove the socials because they're the cue for me seeing the delicious food and be like, oh wow, I really want to eat that. And so I just end up ordering it. And so instead of all this fucking cycle of shit, just remove the whole cause. Don't scroll on your socials or remove socials completely, which is even better, and simply focus on the good stuff. And of course, like you need to be journaling about this. You need to be actually like seeing, okay, like what is the cue? What is the main cause for this? How do these addictions keep going off? Like I have a junk food addiction. How do I usually like relapse? Okay, my ability to say no to my family when they offer me junk food is pretty low because I just keep saying, okay, like, but like just this one time and it doesn't matter. Okay, well, why don't we then change that? You would tell your parents, okay, don't tell me that you're going to be getting junk food, just get junk food, eat it, and just don't tell me and don't invite me. And what that will do is simply, it will enable you to actually do the hard work. It will enable you to actually do what you want to be doing. And it will enable you to avoid all this just bullshit. Now for overemphasis. You see, overemphasis is this big problem people go through, especially people who are quite obsessive. Unfortunately, I was one of those people. You see, for me, with my vaping addiction, I was just always obsessive about it. I was just, okay, like I will never do that again. And then I would do it and I'd be super sad. And I'd end up almost just self-punishing in my head about just how like I just didn't want to do it, and yet I did it. And so I overemphasized that. I ended up focusing on it too much. And what that did to me was it made me just this entity that just wants to just stop doing it. I just want to stop doing it. I want to stop doing it. And then he just did it. I want to stop doing it. I want to stop. And he just did it. And really what this ended up doing to me was really just fucking up my mental health. Because I was trying to escape this, but I was doing it. I hated it so much and I was doing it. And really what that kind of does to a person is it basically makes them hate themselves. It makes them hate their lives. And I mean, really, I think it's about not emphasizing it so much. Because for a long time, I've emphasized it and I thought that was a good thing. I thought I should be obsessive. And everyone around me was like, oh yeah, like you're just being too obsessive, it's fine. And I was like, no, like this is way too fucking important. And it is too fucking important. And I am right. And I was right. Issue is, when you focus on it, it's not exactly gonna go away. Like, if I told you right now to not think of a white polar bear, the first thing that will pop up in your head is a white polar bear. And the reason for that is because I said don't. What you're saying in your head is don't fat, don't fat, don't fat. Instead of do something else, do something else, do something else. You're not really like leading yourself away from the polar bear. You're just doing something else. And that will lead you away from the polar bear. Sometimes the best way to avoid something is to focus on something else instead of saying, don't do this. And so just don't think about it. Don't overemphasize it. Don't be this over-obsessive person who's like, oh yeah, like I just need to quit my vaping addiction. Yeah, you need to. Of course you need to. But don't think about it, because then you will never quit it. It's like, the reason you haven't quit it for so long is because you're focusing on it too much. You're thinking about it too much. You're like, oh, I need to be quitting it. I need to be quitting it. Oh, I need to be quitting it. Well, you're not going to quit it because guess what? You're focusing on it. All you're thinking about 24/7 is it. And so just let it go by time. Time will fix your problem. And so just simply do the things that you have to do right now. You just do your 4 essential meditation, journaling, exercise, and reading or learning, and just simply stick to that. Do what you have to and keep the rest for time, because time will fix your problem. You've been fapping for like 9 years, no wonder. And so you have to understand that not because like you're doing everything you have to, but it's not going away, that it just doesn't work. No, this is something that's been pushed onto you so long, and it's going by, and it's almost like these failure cycles are pushing upward, but you can't really see it because it's all just ups and downs, but you can't really see like where the arrow's pointed because all you're seeing is the fact that it's going down and up and down and up. And so what you see is a straight line of up, down, up, down, up, down, like almost like a zigzag, instead of actually seeing the bigger picture, which is more so exponential growth. And so you have to realize that you need to be doing what you have to and leaving the rest to time. Because time is the biggest fixer of problems. Like, when you don't emphasize it, when you're doing what you have to, when you've cut out all the cues and you've basically done everything you have to, well, then the rest is history, really. All you have to do then is just continue doing what you're already doing with time. Because guess what? The millionaire never became a millionaire in 1 month, nor did he become a millionaire in 2 months, nor did he become a millionaire in 6 months. He became a millionaire in years of dedication. And so, what I'm really trying to point out is, what you're doing is leading you to your success. But the success won't be today, nor will it be tomorrow, nor will it be after tomorrow, nor will it be a month from now, nor will it be like 3 months from now. And of course, some addictions are easier to eliminate than others. But there will be that one stinky addiction that just sticks. And you'll have to just deal with that. You'll have to be journaling about that, learning the cues for it, learning the things that will trigger it. And then simply like avoiding those, doing the 4 daily mental health habits, and simply focusing on the essentials. And then simply just leaving the rest for time, because time, again, is the biggest fixer of problems. And of course, you need to understand that you will relapse. You'll keep relapsing again and again and again. And even if you've been on the like 120-day streak, you might relapse. It's not that you've cut out the chance of relapsing completely, but you've simply cut it out to the point. And so whenever you get hit with a very big life situation and your life's fucked up, your like personal life thing or whatever, and you end up relapsing, well, it happens, and that's fine. What we don't want is you re-engaging with it again. You don't want to be saying, just because I yet said, okay, like, I can relapse, or I will relapse, that would be a motivator for me to relapse. In fact, that should be like almost like something that you want to prove me wrong with. You're like, no, I won't relapse. And you know what? I won't focus on it, and I won't do that. I'll say what you're telling me, but I'll get all the progress faster than everyone who's watching this. And I'll prove you wrong. That's what you need to be putting up. And of course, when it does happen, don't like punish yourself on it. Don't like hate yourself for it. Because nobody really escapes addictions. They simply deload them to a point that they don't exist. Now for developing willpower and discipline. So, you see, we've got this part in our brain that's called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And basically this thing is like the willpower hub. It's just this thing that pushes your willpower to do shit or to avoid shit. And so, you see, this thing, it can be activated and developed, which will in turn like develop your willpower and develop your ability to actually overcome shit by simply doing some key habits for this. You see, how do you activate the anterior mid-cingulate cortex? Well, you activate it by way of actually doing hard shit. By running the David Goggins marathons. By waking up so early you're like you hate your life. By doing these very hard, like, anterior mid-cingulate cortex habits that I call them. And it's almost like these micro sucks. They're like, as Andrew Huberman calls them, micro sucks. Like, it's just shit that sucks. Like, for me, I mean, a lot, like, some micro sucks are like, I don't want to be brushing my teeth, but I have to. Or, I don't want to be cutting my nails, but I have to. or I don't want to be like shaving, but I have to. And so it's like it's micro suck, like just something you have to do, like filling up your 2 water bottles. That's a micro suck. But these are the things that develop your willpower and discipline. So what I would say for this is do hard shit. Find some hard shit tasks that you can be doing every week, and just do that. And then of course, like introduce some micro sucks into your day. So just some stuff that generally like just suck and you just have to do them. And simply introduce like a whole bunch of those. And also, expeditions. You see, expeditions, even though they can be fun, are sometimes quite painful. You see, an expedition, I made a full morning chat on this, but expeditions are basically the makers of men. And expeditions are basically you going on events, like big events in your life. Like, basically just like traveling for 6 months to like view the Atlantic Ocean or whatever, or like going for 6 months to like Thailand to train Muay Thai to have a big fight afterward, or going to the woods and training swordsmanship for the next like 6 months. Simply doing some kind of expedition. And see, expeditions, even though from the outside they look really cool, are actually very painful shit. And of course, I talked about like expedition snacks, and certainly like that's almost like a micro suck in a sense. But you need to be introducing expeditions long form and also expedition like snacks, which are the more so short form type of expeditions. So why don't you go to a shooting range next week and just shoot a whole bunch of guns? That will certainly suck. Will give you the fucking like recoil shit. Why don't you decide to run one marathon? Just try it for the sake of shit. It's certainly some weird ass fucking like crap. Why don't you try it? Or just doing some kind of really effortful thing one time, just almost like an expedition snack. And so what I would be doing for this is really just placing this into my life. Whole bunch of like ACC habits, whole bunch of expeditions, whole bunch of expedition snacks, and just really just focusing on these, because these are the biggest willpower builders. Like I could just give you an example of like a micro suck ACC type of thing. At the very end of my workouts, I remember I used to simply, so I'm just done with my workout, and what I would do is usually I would just call my father, and it would take him about 10 minutes so he would come and pick me up. But instead of me sitting down and just scrolling on my phone, what I would do instead is I would go on the treadmill, no phone, no headphones, and I would run for 10 minutes straight. And it was a big micro suck for me. I hated that shit. Like, I hated just having to run on that treadmill. And yet my willpower afterward was amazing. My ability to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna be fucking doing this, and actually avoiding these habits and building the good ones, it was all just changed by simply me adding this like little like after exercise, extra micro suck exercise, which really built me into something else. And finally, the easiest way to avoid addiction. You see, the easiest way to avoid addiction is to simply not engage. If you simply turn your brain off, and your brain is telling you, oh man, I really want to try to smoke one time. Oh, I really want to try video games. Oh, I want to try playing on controller. Well, in a weird way, trying that exposes you to an addiction. Trying junk food or this new like sugary thing, that exposes you to a new addiction. And that's the last thing you want, because you've experienced how bad addictions are. And so just the easiest way to avoid addiction is to simply study your situation, always be mindful, never jump in and just do one thing without really like studying it well. You see, people who will like go into addictions and will have a whole bunch of addictions, they're simply just people who want to try shit. And unfortunately, all the shit they tried was addictious, because most people, they will offer you the addictious shit. They won't offer you the normal shit. And so it's like, people will tend to fall into addictions super easily. You know why? Because they're just so simple and easy to fall into. You just do them once, you do them again, you do them a third time, do them a fourth time, oh wait, it's already an addiction. And so it's like, that's just how addictions form. They form by you doing the behavior once, and then you do it again. It's just doing it 2 times. You do it 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. It's an addiction. That's basically how it is. So what's the solution? You simply study your situation. So this guy, like, he offers you a cigarette. You know cigarettes are addictions. Just don't fucking take the cigarette. Be like, okay, thank you. I just don't want it. Well, so this guy offers you junk food. Okay, just no, thank you. I just don't want that. Oh yeah, like this guy offered you a sugary treat. Just no, thank you. I just don't want that. It's just simply overcoming these things. And this person is telling you, okay, like just like try this weird ass fucking thing. If you don't know what it is, it's probably better off to just reject it. Unless it's someone that genuinely you trust, I probably wouldn't be taking shit from anyone, you know? And if in any case you fall in again, and this guy offered you a cigarette and you took it, simply it's just not hurting yourself over it. Because eventually you will quit. And it simply just requires you to stick to the process and dedicate yourself to this. So just before I end this video, I kind of want to talk to you about my coaching. You see, I'm doing free coaching calls for this month of March. And I'm specifically doing free coaching calls. You can hit me up anytime. Just DM my Instagram and tell me, claim for the free one-to-one coaching call. And me and you will simply hop on. I'll first ask you, okay, like what is your problem? Like what goal or problem do you want to reach? Then we can discuss that, and basically I'll help you for free. The first coaching call is for free. And of course this is a limited time offer, like only for this month, and it's only one free coaching call, then the rest are paid. And of course, like, you have to realize, okay, this is like we're very near the end of the month, and so you better be like abusing this like actual fucking opportunity by simply taking it. And so you simply just DM me on my Instagram and tell me, okay, claim for the free one-to-one coaching call, and then we'll go on from there, me and you. But in any case, that's kind of what I want to go through. It's definitely an extensive full guide that genuinely, like for me, it's distilling years and years and years of just suffering from addictions to eventually like fixing all those addictions and coming here and telling you about this shit. And so I really hope more than anything that you've actually paid attention and you've just highlighted every word that I said in this video, because truth be told, this video is really valuable. This video, like, for me at least, I've watched hours and hours and hours of content about like addiction, and specifically like some whole bunch of tips that have really helped me. And so I'm distilling in this video literally like hours and hours and hours of the best tips that I've went through. And of course, I like this argument of you don't get it from one video. You get it by watching multiple great videos, and that's how you go through. And so of course, don't take me as your only source. I've talked about, like, in my Learn Full Guide, I talked about a whole bunch of different sources for learning. And I talked about sources that I learned from. I definitely recommend that you watch that full guide to actually just, okay, like how do you learn? Because learning is actually like one of the fundamentals about fixing your mental health, just actually learning. Of course, like I said, reading, but reading is a form of learning. And you've got other forms of learning that will genuinely help you. So I recommend you actually like watch that full guide. I really go through a whole bunch of different stuff about that, like just the key foundations of learning. And so definitely check that full guide out. But in any case, take some action on this, because if you don't take action on this, it will change the beliefs, but it won't take the pain away. And so you have to be taking the pain away by simply taking the pain now instead of tomorrow. But in any case, that's kind of what I want to go through. And so I guess I'll see you in the next full guide.